Good morning, everybody. This is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creation. And as you can see, today we've kind of got a mess on my desk, but we are going to go through some flower making techniques, some really simple ones. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I did have a couple of my viewers ask for a tutorial. I had used some rolled flowers on one of my projects, and I was asked how to do that. They're kind of a blast from the past. They're not my idea. But then I thought, well, while I do that, why don't I just kind of go through some things? So I went through my stash. I grabbed most, well, not most, but some of my flower making tools. And I really need to start using these more because as I was going through finding all my supplies, I was like, I forgot I had this. Oh, I forgot I had that. Wow, I didn't even open that one yet. So I have all kinds of stuff. I went through my stash and I found like my dies that some of them honestly weren't even opened. I bought them and they aren't even opened. So I need to start doing this. What we're going to do is we're going to use scraps of pattern paper. We're going to create some flowers. The great part about this is if you are a hoarder of scraps like I am, then this will help use up your scraps. And also when you're making a project, if you need that perfect flower that really matches your collection, you can't quite find one, this makes the perfect flowers because it actually is part of the collection that you're using to make your project. So they match perfectly. And it doesn't matter what the pattern of the paper is. Once you cut these out and put these together, the flowers are absolutely magnificent. So I used to do this way more than I have been lately, but I'm going to start doing it now because I dug all this stuff out. I really need to do it. Now, I have this old Cuttlebug. This is my very first machine that I ever bought way back when it came out, and it still works and it's still wonderful, and so I still use that. I don't even honestly know how many people actually still have this. When this breaks down, then I will have to go to something else. But I love this machine. I've had it for a really long time, and it still works really well. So I do have, that's what I use for my die cutting system. Now, I did show in one of my previous tutorials, Cuttlebug had come out with a flower die, and it creates, I don't know if you could see this, but it creates strips like this, and then you just quill them together using a Cuttlebug quilling tool. And so I did do that on, or use those kinds of flowers on one of my tutorials, and basically I didn't die cut it out today, but once it has all the pieces in it, and once you roll them together and glue them together, then you get this really beautiful flower. So this is fun to use. I also found in my stash, which I did use, my Holtz Flower Die, and I ran this through my machine with a bunch of different pattern papers, and it has all the different sizes here, so you can make just a plethora of different flowers with that. For today, what I'm going to be using is I found, so the request was for rolled flowers. So we're going to do them by hand, but we're also going to use a die as well. Now this die I bought, let me see if I can find a date on there, 2011. So this is an old Spellbinders die. And honestly, I used it a couple times and then I quit using it because I just started buying flowers. But you know what? I'm going to start making my own flowers. So this is an example of what a rolled flower, how it starts out with. It's a spiral that you just roll and it creates this beautiful flower. So we're going to do that today. I kind of prepared one already. And then we're also going to talk about using punches, and we're going to be using my new toy that I got from Country Craft Creations, which is the Heartfelt Creations 3D Floral Basics shaping mold. And honestly, this thing is a game changer. I love this thing. So I'm going to show you what I did with this. And, you know, every machine's going to be different. Since I use the Cuttlebug, my sandwich might be different than the machines that you might have. So if you do go get this, which I highly recommend because this is a game changer for shaping flowers. Go to Country Craft Creations at countrycraftcreations.com and pick this up. It is way worth the investment that you will put in. And then you'll have to go to, there is a website here where you can go and they will go through the different die cutting machines with you. So anyway, I'm using this. We did this, and let's get started with our tutorial. So first of all, I'm going to kind of get some of this stuff out of the way. Let's start with the basics. So let's start with something that I have done, which is basically just grab your punches. And I have a whole bunch of flower punches, and I just punch out a couple, 2 or 3 of each of the shapes. And then I literally will take them in my hand and just squish them. And that's how I created this flower. And then you just layer the pieces and then find a center for your flower. And, you know, that turns out really, really cute. At this point, if you want to add a little bit of ink to that, then sometimes I will just take my ink and just run it across the edge. And then you can kind of fluff it up any way you want. And then what you can also do is, like, I had some leaves in my flower bin, and then you can just take a couple leaves and boom, you have a nice flower. Now that you can die cut leaves, you can go on your Cricut or your Silhouette, and you can actually get, you know, spiral shapes. You can get the flower cutouts, whatever you want in the size that you want. Cut these out, cut your leaves out, and then you have a really pretty flower. So what I did was I cut the same amount of punches. So I did 2 big ones and 2 little ones, and then I used my shaping mold. And this thing is really amazing. So what you do is you take it, and it has a plate that comes off the top, and then it has all these circles, so you can fit any size punch that you put in one of those shapes. So I just chose the shapes that kind of really fit the die cuts that I did. And then what you do is you spray them with water, just a little spritz of water, and that helps mold it. Then you put the top on, you run it through your die cutting machine, and it presses it. And then what you end up getting is this beautiful shaped flower, and the spritz of water helps it keep its shape. Okay, so this, then you would do the same thing. So we're just going to layer these with a little bit of glue, and they're a little bit off. I ran them through my machine quickly. So one side is a little more pronounced than the other on both of my flowers. So I'm going to kind of just offset that just a little bit. And I put a little glue in the center, and then just layer your flowers down. Is this not like the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life? I mean, the shaping of this, it looks so good. So then I'm going to do this. Now, I should have said in the beginning of this video what paper I'm using. So I am using, from Country Craft Creations, Blossoms in Springtime. Now, I just posted a tutorial for configuration cards, and I basically used the scraps from making those cards to make all of these flowers for this tutorial. So it doesn't take much paper at all to create a really beautiful flower that will go with this collection. So this is Blossoms in Springtime, exclusively at Country Craft Creations at countrycraftcreations.com. And it's a gorgeous springtime Easter theme kind of paper, and it's just so pretty. The pastels are just gorgeous, and there's all kinds of beautiful imagery. So go check it out, where you can also get the flower mold too. Okay, so then once I layered all those down and I glued them down, then I'm just going to grab another little bit of glue, and I grabbed these enamel dots from my stash that are like glittery, and they're so old that they barely have any sticky on them. So I added a little glue to the inside of my flower, and I'm just going to press that down, and then there you go. Now you have a flower, and then you can take a couple leaves and glue those to the back, and then you have this really, really cute little flower. So let me do that really fast, and then we can kind of compare the 2 flowers that I made, the one that I squished with my hand compared to the one that I did in the mold. And they're both super cute, but I got to tell you, I am loving the mold. I am loving the mold. So let's do that. Glue a couple leaves together. I think I did that one. There we go. Just make a really pretty little flower. And it's super easy. It's super fast. And look, so the one in my left hand is the one that I squished in my hand, and the one in my right hand is the one I ran through the machine. I mean, look how pretty those flowers are. They're just absolutely gorgeous. And they totally match the paper collection because I made them out of the scraps. So if I wanted to use them on a project, totally could. So those are some punched flowers, one squished, one ran through the mold. So those are the first ones I wanted to show you. I'll get this out of the way. Then let's go through, let's talk about the rolled flowers, because these are really fun. Now this is another blast from the past because I went through my drawer, and yes, I still have, I think, every paper edgers that Fiskars ever came out with, and I grabbed a couple that I wanted to play with. So what we're going to do first is make just a straight rolled one that we hand cut. Okay, so this is just a hand cut one, and I didn't ink it or anything. I did put a center in the middle, and look how cute that is. That is a super cute rolled flower, and it's just adorable. So you start with these, with any size square paper that you want. And then I'm just going to round the corners. Now, this is the beauty of this. You do not have to be super precise with this, because the more imprecise you are, the more character your flower has. So you can use a circle punch to start this process, but I generally will just round the corners and be done with it. And then what you're going to do is, I'm going to just round that just a little bit more, is what you're going to do is you're going to start in one of the corners, and you're just going to do a spiral. Now, depending on how thick your spiral is, meaning how wide you cut your spirals, will depend, you know, will make a difference in how tall your flower becomes. So I'm kind of going no more than like 1/2 inch. Usually I try, but this is freehand, so you know, it is what it is. So you just keep going in a spiral. And again, it doesn't matter how precise you are, because you can always tweak it if you want to when you're done. And I'm going to show you that, because I am going to tweak it just a little bit once we get the spiral cut. Just keep going and going and going and make this spiral. And just keep going. When you get to the center, we're going to leave kind of a circle, and that's what the whole thing is going to glue down on. So this is kind of a one piece, you know, wonder here. So we're going to stop about there and leave a bit of a circle, and this is going to be the base of our flower. So that's going to be the bottom of our flower right there. Okay. Now the next thing you need to know is that whatever you want showing like from the top, that's what you need to kind of turn to the inside. Now there's a couple different ways you can do it. Now I have the Quilling Tool, which I got from my Cuttlebug flower making kit. And of course these are available at any craft store, but then you just put it through, there's a slit in there, and you just put it through and you just start rolling it up. Okay. And you want the inside of the flower is rolling to the inside. Okay. Because I want all the pretty colors of the flower, and you just keep rolling it up. Now this isn't going to be straight. This is going to turn out to be kind of a cone shaped thing. So once you get to a certain point, you really do have to take your quilling tool out and then do the rest by hand. Now, if you don't have a quilling tool, you can use a bamboo skewer and just start wrapping it around there. And then once you get to a certain point, just pull the skewer out. This is a pick that is a little bit smaller diameter than the bamboo skewer, but you can use that. Whatever you want to do, you can even start rolling this by hand if you want. Just keep going and going and going and roll it up. It doesn't have to be super tight, because we're going to kind of let it unfold anyway. And just keep rolling. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. And the bigger your circle, of course, the bigger the, you know, the longer you're going to be rolling, because you have more paper to roll. You can make these any size you want. And then once you get kind of towards the center, it's going to naturally kind of curve at the bottom. Now I just let it go. But when you let it go, it will blossom out. So it will get a little bit bigger. So you can play with your sizes. You can stick your quilling tool back in there, or you can take like a tweezer or something like that, and then you can kind of tighten it back up. Okay, so our flower is rolled up, and I'm kind of holding it because I don't want it to unfold too much, but I'm just going to kind of gently release the pressure, and you can kind of see how it's going to want to unfold just a little bit. So I'm just going to let it kind of ease up just a little and kind of fluff out just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to really, really carefully kind of pick it up, put glue on that circle piece that we left for the base, and then I'm going to hold it down. And because it is layered, you're going to have some layers that are smaller than others. So, you know, just kind of hold it down and let the glue set. Now, I am using the art glitter glue from Heartfelt Creations, and it sets pretty fast, but it does take, you know, a hot second to hold it because this is under tension with the rolls. So I'm just kind of holding it down and kind of waiting for the glue to kind of catch those edges and keep the flower down. We're going to be very careful. So that's basically our flower right there. We're going to let it dry. To put the center in, then all I do is I kind of fill the center with some more glue. And then I picked a flat back pearl that I had in my stash. And depending on the size of it, and that one looks a little bit too big for the center of this flower. So let me get another one here. And I'll put a smaller one in there. Maybe I'll put a smaller one in there. There we go. And voila, you have your flower. Okay, so that's a rolled flower, and you can see every flower is going to be different. I hand cut both of these, and one's a little flatter than the other one. The other one's a little taller. I did the size just a little bit bigger in some areas. So you're going to get a lot of contrast. And, you know, flowers aren't supposed to be symmetrical, so that's the beauty of this. So we have our little flower, our rolled flowers here. Now on this one, I did the same thing, but then I used an edge scissor on it to kind of, if you can see, give a little bit of dimension to the flower. So this is where I dug out my Fiskars scissors. So let me show you how I did this one. Now you can see this one's a smaller piece of paper, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just curve the edges just a little bit. And again, it doesn't have to be too perfect. Okay, you just want to kind of round the corners. And then I'm going to take my scissors. Now on this one, because I'm going to use an edge scissor, I'm going to try to keep it to where I have, you know, like around about a 1/2 inch around, because I'm going to cut some of it off after I do this. Okay, but I have to get the first shape first. So I'm just going to try and make it a little bit bigger, and don't cut it in half. So make sure you watch where your scissors are going, because then you'll have to start all over. Okay, so I'm going to go around till we get to a nice center point, okay? And then I'm going to grab my edge scissors, and I'm just going to go around and cut my flower. Now you'll notice that on some of the flowers, you know, you can just take your ink, you know, and brush on your flower after you create it, okay? So that kind of also gives kind of the you know, symmetrical effect with your flower. Or before you roll it, go ahead and roll this edge, this top edge, or roll the top edge. Ink your top edge. You could ink it all the way around. And then that way, then, you know, all of the top edges are inked when you get done with your flower. And you don't have to go back and, like, you know, ink over top of it. So either way works. And it just depends on your preference. So when you get to here, we're just going to kind of stop where the circle is. Okay, so now you have a piece that looks like this, which is pretty similar to what you're going to get if you have a die like that. Okay, but you can do it with your Fiskars edgers too. So if you have those still in your stash, guys, dig them out. They make great flowers. So we're going to do the same thing. Now this time I'll show you, let's see. I'll show you how, you know, just what I was talking about. Ink your edges, okay? So these are going to end up being the top of your flower. So you can just put a little bit of ink on there. I'm using Tim Holtz. My go-to color is Vintage Photo. I Just love that color, and it seems to pretty much match everything. I don't like that. So I'm going to fix that. There we go. All right. So now I've inked all the way around there. Okay, so then, now if you're going to use like a pick or a skewer, again, make sure that the design that you want for, you know, looking into your flower is on the inside. And this is a little bit fiddly to get started, but once you get started, you can just use a bamboo skewer to get it going. Okay. And again, it will kind of do a cone shape on you, and that's because of the nature of the spiral. So now I'm going to take it out and I'm going to play with it here by hand. Just roll it around, and we'll just do the same process. But this time we're going to have a little decorative edge, you know, to our flower. And again, I'm being kind of, there we go. And then just kind of let it kind of bloom on its own, just a little bit, okay? And then we're going to pick it up ever so carefully, put our glue down, and set it down, and then just kind of hold it down and let the glue set. That's all there is to rolling a flower. Okay, and making your own decorative edge right there. So here's our flower. You can see that we have got all the edges are inked, okay? And then all we need to do now is add our center. So I'm just going to fill that with glue. And then I had a clear acrylic drop. So we're going to use that in the center. Now you can also put some prills in there if you wanted to. Prills are available at Country Craft Creations, and let me grab those. I'll show you. Prills are really fun. They come in multiple colors, and you can put those in the centers of your flowers as well. And this one here is Hearts of Gold, and it's beautiful, but they're little teeny tiny gold balls of loveliness, and they make really pretty centers for flowers as well. I have done that before. I did make it before with those little prills, and I'm going to show it to you, but I can't tell you what this project is because this is my next tutorial. So you're going to get kind of a quick sneaky peeky, but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. Okay, so here you go. So I made some rolled flowers here, and then I did the prills in the inside of a punched flower here. I hope you can see that. So see how gorgeous they are on your project? Okay, enough of that, because that's coming. That's coming. That's my next tutorial I'm filming. So you can use prills. Prills are really cool, and they come in different colors, so go check those out at the store too. Okay, so we have our rolled flowers, and we have our decorative edge that we used our scissors on. So I used these scissors on this particular flower, and I didn't ink the edges, but you can see it kind of gives it a really fun shape. And then I used my scallop edge here for this one, and we inked the edges. So super cute, beautiful little rolled flowers. So that's how you do that. So let's talk about the dies. So you can, again, get your, if you have dies at home, use them. Cricut and Silhouette. Silhouette for sure, I know. I'm sure Cricut does too. I haven't searched it, but there are a ton of these available that you can purchase. And I used the die. I used the bigger one to make this flower. I did not ink the edges. I just cut it out, rolled it, and then I put this really pretty pearl in the middle of it. It's kind of iridescent pink and yellow, and it's just really gorgeous. I thought it matched the paper really beautiful. So this is the same thing. It's a rolled flower. Okay, so you use your die, and I use the biggest one. This is the biggest one here. These are called Bitty Blossoms, so they are pretty tiny. And then this one also has leaf die cut, so you can cut out your leaves as well and use those with your flowers. So again, it's just the same kind of thing. These are a little bit more fiddly just because of the bigger cuts, but I'm going to put my quilling tool in there, and then I'm just going to start twisting, and we are going to make a flower. Now on this one, because of that, I found that I had to kind of every so often kind of squish it because it tended to want to, you know, kind of almost like a score and fold almost like a box or something because of the petals. So every once in a while I just had to kind of squish it to kind of keep it, you know, going into kind of a cone shape. But you can already see how pretty that flower is going to be. And then you just keep going around and around and around, and it has the bottom already cut out here for you. And again, once you get to the center, then just kind of let it bloom a little bit on its own, okay? And then glue her down, and that's all you have to do. There we go. So I'm just going to hold that down for a second. And then this part here, then what you can do is you can take your fingers and you can kind of, you know, bend these flower petals out a little bit. You can use a skewer to do that too if you wanted to kind of curl them just a little bit. Make sure the flower's dry first though, because you really want to make sure you don't, you know, take the glue, you know, let the glue set before you start really fiddling with that. But that's all you got to do with that. And it turns out super cute. All right. So then for the bottom, then you just, or for the center, I just put the glue in there. And then drop your pearl in. Boom. And you have a beautiful little flower. So that's using the die. So these two used my die. These I rolled myself. I cut them out myself, but I did the decorative edges. These I didn't do anything with the edges. I just cut the circles and rolled them out. And then these were the punches. This one I squished with my hands. This one I used my new flower shaping mold, and they turned out beautiful. So I hope that answered some questions from the people who did ask, how do you do the rolled flowers? Again, this is an old technique made new. Need to dig this out again and start using them more often because they turn out really beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any more questions, let me know. Another one of our designers does really good flower tutorials. Her name is Bonnie, and I will put a link to her YouTube channel down below so that you can see her flower tutorials. And she does shaping with, you know, the foam mats and, you know, doing the whole hand shaping thing. And her flowers are absolutely stunning, beautiful. So I would like you to go check out her channel too and give her some love. And I will see you soon with another tutorial. I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.